I'm back once again, checking out another Arrow video horror title. That's kind of just underrepresented, underrated, undervalued. The movie itself, I mean, not the Blu-ray. Though the Blu-ray might be too. So let me go ahead. It's J.D.'s Revenge, and this one is from like 1975. Arthur Marks, starring the great Glenn Turman. Some of you guys may remember my Cooley High review, which was the very first installment of the series, and I kind of went into all kinds of things about Glenn's career. Excuse me, the whole kind of span of it. This is me is like the high point. This is where he kind of combines humor with drama, with outrageousness. He's got good and evil. He's doing it all, man. He's just like a one man band here because he's playing two characters and playing them both really well. So let me give you a little background info on the plot here. So in 1942, New Orleans, this man is fighting with his girlfriend. Yeah, let me get it straight. This guy named Theotis is fighting with his girlfriend, Betty Lou. Now, she's married to his brother, Elijah. So, and the child that they think is Elijah is Theotis's. So we get all this soap opera stuff clear in the very beginning. And they're fighting on the killing floor of a slaughterhouse. So it couldn't be more metaphorical here if they tried. And basically, Theotis, he slits her throat, man, and it's not good. But anyway, her brother, J.D. Walker, who's a pretty nasty gangster, he happens upon his sister, Betty Lou, and he freaks out. He's got her blood on his hands. And Elijah comes back and, of course, he thinks that J.D. killed his own sister. For what purpose, we have no idea. But I will say he gets shot for his trouble, J.D. And, it's from the way it's cut, you could conclude that either Elijah or Theotis killed him, but upon repeated viewings, to me it's obvious that Theotis is the one who kills him. So that's not really a twist or anything. The first time I watched it, I thought maybe that's kind of a twist there, but really everything I'm telling you is in like the first 5 minutes. So, before the credits, before we meet Glenn Turman in the present day, 33 years later, the only way Louis Gossett has aged is that now he's bald, but he looks exactly the same. So I guess they figured that'd be good enough. But he always has a shaven head anyway. But he had kind of a wig, in the 1942 footage, I guess indicating he was a really, really young cat, and now he's, who knows, maybe in his 50s, and he's a reverend. But we don't meet him until several minutes into the movie here, a little bit actually. First of all, we meet Isaac and his girlfriend Christella, and Ike, as they call him, is studying to be a lawyer and driving a cab part-time at night. And Chris and him live together. She's she's played by Joan Pringle, and she was a good casting choice because she wasn't like a Vanetta McGee or a Marlene Clark or much less a Pam Grier, kind of bombshell. She wasn't even a Gloria Hendry, really, or a Carol Speed, and I love all those women, by the way. But she was played more of a usually solid kind of straight arrow kind of characters. That's a lot of the time on television when I was growing up. But anyway, she's a good contrast because she is that kind of character. So she's kind of like rooting for Ike to get through law school and helping him with his studies when she can. And they decide, well, she decides unilaterally, and he finally reluctantly goes along with it to have a night on the town in New Orleans. And they go to this show where there's this hypnosis thing going on, and they probably think it's like all phony and everything, but seemingly this woman hypnotizes audience participants, including Ike. So our guy is hypnotized, and apparently that little bit of quasi mystical business um, transfers, well, kind of like opens a door, I guess you could say, for J.D. Walker's spirit to enter him. Um, they never really get any more detailed about the supernatural, uh, cosmology of this than that. That's pretty much it. So um, after that night, their things aren't the same. Ike, who's a pretty affable, cool guy, he starts having these little episodes where he kind of acts out, and in his cab, he ferries an old lady across the city and starts just driving wildly around, and she's in the back seat, rocking back and forth. And I guess she just didn't know what a seatbelt was, but it was the '70s, so go figure. And then, of course, he has no memory of it. And even though she reports him, Ike's boss tells Ike, he doesn't know it's him. He's like, well, they said it was a black guy. It could be any of y'all, paraphrasing, but that's pretty much his attitude. Um, so uh, then he starts kind of getting into the rough sex with Chris, and at first she's kind of into it, and then the next occasion, he's gone and he's straightened his hair, and she thinks he's crazy looking, and then when he starts slapping her around because she's not sexually compliant enough for him, she really believes he's crazy, and so she splits and goes to stay with friends and relatives. So at this point, our man Ike, who still doesn't remember any of these blackouts, these episodes, um, is angst ridden with good reason. Um, he has a friend who's like, I think, studying to be a doctor, and this guy is like, oh my God. I mean, he's like, gives the worst friend advice imaginable. First he's like, you're just working too hard, man. You're burning the candle at both ends. It's fine. It's cool. You're just studying too hard. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. Then, that's his initial behavior. Then, in blackouts and headaches. And then when he, slaps around his girlfriend, the guy's like, hey, man, it's okay. Sometimes women, they like that kind of stuff. They expect it, and they get off on it, and I'm like, well, he's not the most helpful friend. Let's just put it that way. I should just ditch this cat right away. So then comes the full transformation, and he kind of assumes the um, persona of J.D. Walker like full time, and he talks like him. He sees him his face when he looks in the mirror, not his own, and he buys the get up, the zoot suit from the '40s. He's all he's really fly looking. He's very dapper, and he talks a lot of trash, and he's a funny guy. I mean, J.D. Walker, he was obviously a gangster of some kind and a misogynist, but he makes some funny jokes, and the way Turman does it's pretty hilarious. Um, he's the life of the party, but no one knows that he's not really Ike. That his body's been completely taken over by J.D. Walker, who's out to get his titular revenge. So enter Elijah Bliss, and we have him in the present day preaching. At first, he was kind of a fake preacher, like a televangelist from the '80s. Phony, just bilking people out of fundage, and then he's gradually, with time, apparently, we learn from exposition with him and his brother that Elijah Bliss has become a true believer. And Theodos, of course, he scoffs. He's like, we're in it for the money, and you started believing that, horse shit, And Elijah is, he's like, I'm a good guy now, and uh, so so Ike, inhabited by JD, happens upon one of his church sessions, and he's kind of what they used to call slain in the spirit, and he's not speaking in tongues, but he's kind of he's he's dancing, and he's just really like, and he's like really testifying and witnessing, and then in comes Ike with this badass suit, and he's like, "You're still an old jackleg preacher, Elijah," which is my funniest line in the movie, and or maybe he says you became a jackleg preacher, and meaning jackleg, slang for connotating that he's a phony, a con artist, or whatever. Um, I love that. You old jackleg preacher now, Elijah. And Elijah recognizes Ike of something in him that's familiar. And then Elijah's daughter, by Betty Lou, who is played by the same actress that played Betty Lou, she's rather gorgeous, and she's kind of interested in Ike, and at least this persona of Ike. And of course, this is ironic because it's the spirit of her uncle possessing this cat. But I guess if they have sex, physically they're not committing incest, but it's just kind of personalities are committing incest, and only he knows. So what the hell? But why would he want to have sex with his own niece? But she seems more interested in him than he is in her. And as it would have it, spoilers, they never go to bed. So it's just some sexual tension to kind of carry things along. I don't know the name of the actress, but she's pretty fine. So anyway, should have been in more movies, just like the young lady who played Brenda in Cooley High. So yeah, it just kind of barrels toward its climax, how it's going to go, which is basically a confrontation on the killing floor of the same slaughterhouse, and that's when all the revelations come out about true parentage of the young lady, and JD gets his chance through Isaac to kill the brothers Bliss, and Theodos is really a piece of work, and yeah, so thanks to Elijah's efforts, because he is trying to be a good guy. Well, anyway, I'm not going to give away the ending, but he tries to do the right thing in this scenario, and most of the movie you're set up to think that he's going to kill Elijah, and Elijah may have been the one who shot him, because like I said, it's cut to where it could have been either one of them when they close up on the hand of the gun, but the more you watch it, the more you think it's Theodos. So really, it's J.D. Walker kind of does know it's Theodos by the end. They're just messing with the audience. Why J.D. is after Theodos, all Theodos did to him really was just, why he's after Elijah is odd, because the only thing Elijah really did to JD when JD supposedly killed his wife was just scream murderer 2 or 3 times. The other guy shot him, the brother, so kind of weird. But anyway, so based on my tone, you probably think, I think this is a campy film or whatever, but no, quite the contrary. I think it's actually well done, fairly serious. It has a lot of humor. It has a lot of outrageous dialogue here and there. J.D. Walker, he is what we used to call in school, he is a trip. And, there goes my cat. He's making a cameo. And no, I think it's really good. I think it's Arthur Marks' masterpiece, if he could be said to have one. It's he's done Bucktown and Friday Foster and some other films, and they're entertaining blaxploitation entries usually, but this one it's more distinguished. The script is well thought out, and the characters are cool. They have cool names, and there's a lot of kind of attempts at atmosphere, and certainly the atmosphere is better horror-wise than most of the blaxploitation horror. I mean, Blackula has one or two kind of atmospheric scenes, the first Blackula, and even the second, maybe one arguably during this voodoo scene, but uh, really there's not a lot of that kind of atmosphere in those movies. Of course, there's a lot of non-blaxploitation horror from the 70s that have no atmosphere either, so, you know, uh, chalk it up to lack of inspiration, I guess. But there is some in J.D.'s Revenge, and I think I'm glad that it's been kind of rescued from obscurity. Uh, I've been a fan for years. I always thought it was a little under discussed, and then when I started seeing Glenn Turman and other things, I really was convinced he was just a really great actor from that period. And most people know him as the guy in Gremlins. I guess is his most famous role where people recognize him and go, "Hey, it's the guy from Gremlins." But he was in some other stuff. I talked about him in the Cooley High video. So what's up with this Blu-ray? Well, it's a 2K restoration. It looks beautiful. The grain is fine. You know, it's the MGM print was really good on DVD, but this one is kind of it's a little next step above. It's just a slight, upwards upgrade. So, but anyway, it has The Killing Floor, which is a brand new documentary on the making of J.D.'s Revenge. Now, who would have thought that that would have happened? And it's pretty cool. Um, and then some audio interviews with the guy who plays J.D. Walker, David McKnight, and he's cool as hell. And I mean, as J.D. and as McKnight. And this trailer, radio spots, stills gallery, all kinds of things. And yeah, man, I think you should have this in your collection if you are a fan of blaxploitation and or horror and or 70s film, then yeah, you can't go wrong really with JD's Revenge. So that sounds like the most canned, kind of like they paid me to say it, it's closing statements on a review I've ever made. Um, yeah, that's like something out of the She Never Slept Hall of Fame, but I really mean it though. I mean, I think it's a killer film, and I wanted to wind up this little Arrow series. It was bugging the hell out of me because I wasn't. I tried to do the JD's Revenge like twice, and I just started kind of tripping over my tongue and acting even sillier than I have in this one. So out of the three cuts, I think this is the one I'm going with, unless I ruin it here at the end. Uh, and you never know. You never know. It could be like Jim Morrison. You know, that's a Doors Oliver Stone movie reference. Um, but I'll go now and take care of my cat who seems to be lounging around licking himself. And you guys take it easy, and I will be back with a new video soon. Oh yeah, and if it ever gets to me via the USPS, I think this guy sent it out late. I will be reviewing the New Mutants and doing a big X film special. I wanted to shout out to Tim Tolbert, who's one of my good buddies, and he and I have been discussing this for a while now, putting this together. And he's been very supportive at being a great fan of comic books and films, and comic book films, done right, of course. So anyway, take care. All right, I'll see you soon.